a war peace president looks like he's taking us to war. And all we could do is just hope that it doesn't escalate to World War III. What's happening in Iran, it's insane. I think regular people, all we could do is just watch, and thank God we got the right president. Hopefully he makes the right decisions. The war is ugly. People dying, insane. Let's take a look at Maria Bartiromo reporting on it, letting us know what's going on in the ground. And are we losing any soldiers? That's like the worst case scenario. Not only that, but people over there are dying. What is happening? By the way, my name is Noel. Welcome to Verbal on Life. Please give us a thumbs up before you go anywhere, all right? Let's try to spread the word and get the images out there. Let people know, regular people know, that this is getting ugly. And it is what it is. It's what we're dealing with. Let's take a look.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Thank you for joining us. Today, breaking news. CENTCOM just announcing moments ago, tragically, 3 U.S. service members have been killed in action and 5 others seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. This as fresh strikes against Iran continue this morning for a second day as Iran's military is vowing revenge for the killing of Iran's supreme leader. Ali Khamenei is dead, toppled by the rubble after the U.S. led a major operation to take down Iran's brutal regime, killing the supreme leader and 40 others yesterday. In a bold and coordinated ambush, the U.S. and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury early Saturday, with the U.S. military coming from air and sea, launching massive strikes across Iran, with American destroyers sending Tomahawk missiles from the Middle East waters and jet fighters firing above, in what was the greatest amount of air power in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, combined with hundreds of jet fighters and support aircraft to the region. The U.S. also deploying 2 aircraft strike carriers to the region, targeting Iran's leadership and military assets. The force, which included cutting-edge F-35s and F-22s, as well as electronic warfare planes, refueling tankers, and command and control aircraft, gives the president the ability to carry out a sustained air campaign against Iran in the days and weeks ahead. The operation triggering Iranian retaliatory drones and missiles at Israel and U.S. bases in the region. Despite the surge on Saturday, this ongoing conflict did not begin this weekend, as President Trump has been trying to convince the regime to give up its ambitions for a nuclear weapon for years, while warning Iran to stop supporting terrorist proxies during this term and throughout his first term in office. As far back as last March on this program, when back in office for just over a month, the president told me he tried to restart talks with a letter to Khamenei in a diplomatic gesture.
The people of Iran are great people, but they had a tough regime, and they'd meet and they'd be shot in the streets. I mean, it was a tough deal. But I would rather negotiate a deal. I'm not sure that everybody agrees with me, but we can make a deal that would be just as good as if you won militarily. But the time is happening now. The time is coming up. Something's going to happen one way or the other. I hope that Iran, and I've written them a letter saying, I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing for them.
You wrote a letter to the Khamenei?
Yes.
When did you send the letter?
Yesterday.
And you said you better negotiate, or we want you to negotiate?
I didn't say you better. I said, I hope you're going to negotiate, because it's going to be a lot better for Iran. And I think they want to get that letter. The other alternative is we have to do something, because you can't let them have a nuclear weapon.
Crazy.
And they did. Joining me now is 4-star general and former commander of U.S. Central Command, commander of U.S. forces in Iraq in 2003, as well as in Afghanistan, former CIA director, currently head of Mideast operations for KKR, General David Howell Petraeus, joining me. General, thank you very much for being here this morning. Let me kick it off with the tragic news of 3 U.S. service members killed, 5 others wounded. Your reaction?
Well, the president warned of this, I think, Maria, rightly so, that in this kind of operation, that possibility always exists, and tragically it has manifested itself. And
of course, this operation was a military campaign, including an important intelligence campaign. What is your reaction to the United States-led campaign and taking down Ali Khamenei?
Well, this is both an extraordinary military achievement by the Israelis and the Americans. Of course, hundreds of planes on each side, and then also hundreds of cruise missiles coming out of various ships. So a really massive effort. You used that word, and it is exactly correct. But in that, clearly, a lot of this was led by intelligence, precise intelligence, and a degree of stunning arrogance on the part of the Iranians, who I assume said, well, gee, they didn't attack when they normally do in the early hours of the morning, so we have today, we can get together and meet, which is how the intelligence developed that enabled the killing of the supreme leader and some dozens of others who were meeting with him, and then a number of other leaders of the various security forces of Iran, and then also going after any of the remaining air and ballistic missile defenses, then the retaliatory means, the most significant of which are the longer range missiles. And over time, I'm sure going to continue to go after other elements of the security forces, their headquarters, and the shorter range retaliatory measures as well, which can hit the bases in the Gulf and actually have hit, I think, a really foolish move by the Iranians was to hit the Arab countries in the Gulf who really had wanted to stay out of this, but now are in it because of strikes against civilian targets in their countries, the Gulf states. And now their aircraft are already flying as part of the overall defensive effort. And we'll see if there is a decision about us using their bases again, which they had initially denied because they had wanted to stay on the sidelines.
And how significant would that be in terms of the U.S. using the bases of our allies in the Middle East? Who, I mean, and it is an extraordinary issue. You're right. The fact that the Iranians push back by striking other allies in the Middle East.
Well, essentially what we've had to do is fly off carriers. We have one in the Eastern Mediterranean, one, of course, in the Arabian Sea off the southern coast of Pakistan, and then also out of Jordan, and then even some European bases. That's what's been necessary. I don't know now if in the middle of this campaign, we feel comfortable to go into these.
That looks like what happened in America with 9/11, the Twin Towers. All you could really hope is that the building is empty, that everybody got out, because that's like the worst case scenario. Nowadays, I guess that's how the enemy fights. If they mess with us, we're going to blow up their building. We're just going to crash. And now that they got drones, just crash the drones into the buildings. We don't even need to send a pilot.
Bases, whether we have what's called the bed down, the munitions and all of that, and fuel ready to go. But that could present an option to us. I think the focus right now is still on the Iranian retaliatory capabilities. And one of those is what they might do to mine the Strait of Hormuz or otherwise interfere with freedom of navigation from the Gulf. Keep in mind that about 20% of the world's crude oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz on a daily basis, and roughly about 20% of the liquefied natural gas as well. So that would be very, very significant. I'm sure that there will be a spike in the price of Brent crude as markets open, and perhaps likely for LNG as well. There was a ship, in fact, attacked just north of the tip of Oman that is on the outside, just outside the Strait of Hormuz. And Maersk, for example, said that it will stop transiting that strait and then also the other strait that has been interdicted by the Houthis that leads to the Suez Canal. So there'll be quite a focus on that, I'm sure, and still absolutely going after any way that they can respond, including whatever it was. We don't know yet what it was that killed our 3 soldiers and seriously wounded the others, but I'm sure that will be a focus as well.
I'd like to get your take on the capability of Iran at this point, but I also want to talk about what you just mentioned, the Strait of Hormuz, which opens up the conversation to China. And we have talked about China before, the U.S.'s #1 adversary here, and no doubt focused squarely on the continuation of a regular flow of oil to China. What's your take on Iran's capability? And then broaden out the conversation for us and the element of China and that angle.
Well, Iran still clearly has quite a capability. And keep in mind that it's not just the longer range missiles that can hit Israel. And of course, had that terrible incident there just reported a few hours ago as well. Keep in mind that during the 12-day air campaign, despite all of the comprehensive air and ballistic missile assets of the entire region, because they're all integrated, despite that, still 5 to 7% of the missiles got through. So there is going to be that kind of tragedy from time to time. And then when you come to the shorter range missiles, there's quite a large number of those as well. But I'm sure that is a focus, absolutely a focus of Israeli and U.S. actions. When it comes to China, China's in a difficult position. In a way, they have a kinship with Iran, but they're also dependent on the oil that comes out of the strait. So I think they have to be very careful here. They have tried to achieve a balanced relationship with those on the west side of the Gulf and with Iran on the east side of the Gulf. I think they're really just going to stay on the sidelines. And then when it comes to Russia, they don't have anything to spare for Iran. In fact, their S-300, the supposedly sophisticated air and ballistic missile defense system they had before the 12-day war, the Israelis took down with the F-35s that we had provided to them. So I think that's where you are with, again, Iran's supporters and where you are also with the potential impact, again, on global energy markets, noting that I don't think this will be enduring. Even if it's mined, they can generally, that can be cleared within a few weeks. It depends on the assets available. Needless to say, the mine sweeping ships, whether the UK will go in with this on this as well. They are flying defensively, according to the Prime Minister of UK yesterday.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning the UK. Great point there. But in talking about the reaction from China, you also have to mention the bold operation that the president just undertook in Venezuela as well, as a further tactic here when looking at the broader bold campaign. What are next steps? How do you think this government in Iran is formed? You know, you've got all different, perhaps a secular government. You've got the Shia, the Sunnis, the Persian government. I mean, what role do you expect leadership to take, and how does that look in Iran post Khomeini?
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, in this case, there is an interim council that has been announced. It's headed by the president, has a member of the Assembly of Experts and another national security figure. We're not sure if they have even met. I'm sure that they are staying away from any electronic device. They're very deeply underground and so forth. And we'll see if that can actually step in and provide some degree of leadership, noting that probably all of these military elements had decks of targets already provided to them and the authority to engage those targets. The real question, of course, is, will the Assembly of Experts convene rapidly, in a way, a conclave that comes together and chooses the next supreme leader? Can that even happen during this kind of intense campaign? And then might there be some splintering in the security forces? The president mentioned in a social media post yesterday that there are numbers of security force elements that actually want to lay down their weapons, want to get the immunity that he has offered to them. Could someone lead that group and then also lead the population sufficiently to take down a regime which unfortunately probably still has somewhere around 1 million or so forces that it can turn out on the streets and is very heavily armed and willing to shoot and kill its own people, as it demonstrated a few months ago in the demonstrations that took place. I think we'll find out that they killed 15, 20 or even more thousand and imprisoned many, many dozens of others. So the real question is, could there be an alternative to this very hardline ideological clerical regime? Could some other leader step up and the people and those disaffected elements of the regime rally to that individual?
Right.
And I'm not sure that that is quite the base case.
Okay, we'll be watching all of this. General, thank you very much for being here this morning. Former CIA Director General David Petraeus. Thank you, sir. Joining me now
Maria.
with a look at the impact on America and beyond, the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs member, Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. Senator, thank you so much for being here. And you have supported President Trump's strikes on Iran. Your reaction at this point today?
Well, first, I just want to extend my absolute condolences for the American services that lost their lives.
Yeah.
They were all heroes, but now they've been lost, and now they'll be remembered as the kind of heroes. Absolutely grieve with their families. I'm so sorry for their loss. It's an absolutely a noble initiation. Initiative there, and absolutely
Crazy.
epic fury was a noble pursuit.
Yes. And it was a noble pursuit, which, of course, is what the president said as well in his explanation on Saturday. Where does this go now? You have a vote coming up on the president's war powers. How will you vote?
Well, I would really encourage everybody that are watching right now, look up and read the war powers resolution from 1973 and what that requires. What that requires is that provide 48 hours of notification, and President Trump had done that. And then that means after 60 days, then they have to withdraw those soldiers, or perhaps even for an extra 30-day extension. Neither of those things have been broken for that. There are no American boots on the ground. So that's why, EPIC is now, that was absolutely not, it violates either one of that. And now people, they either don't understand that, or now what they're saying, things are just not true, that it wasn't illegal, or for that, they did not violate War Powers Resolution from 1973.
Right. So you will vote in what way on Tuesday?
Well, of course, I'm going to vote it down. It's not necessary, honestly, the entire thing. It's really an empty gesture. There's not going to be any votes. But when you're not even breaking the War Powers Resolution, why are you even doing that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and let's also be clear. I'm tired of seeing people, go on social media and saying we can never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb, and Israel always deserves insecurity, and they deserve to exist. Well, if you're not willing to do about it, then it must just be empty words. Yeah. Are you really? Does it matter? No. But when President Trump was willing to do the kinds of things that are necessary to provide those things. Now, if you really want to prevent Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb, he did try to negotiate with them. There has been treaties. There has been other negotiations that never worked. And they had 900 pounds of just below weapons grade weapons. So, here, do you really committed, or are you just going to drop empty tweets and just try to have it both ways and pretend that it really matters? So, yeah. And that's why I'm going to support that. As a Democrat, I know that's absolutely the right thing to do. And so for me right now, the world is better. And now China and Russia are now condemning that. China is buying the Iranian oil, and that's how Iran underwrites the proxies and that regime. Yeah. So, and China is going to sell them their hypersonic missiles that would be aimed right at American ships.
Yeah.
Too.
Very important point ahead of the president's trip to Beijing, by the way. Senator, for all of those reasons, you are one of several Democrats who have supported this operation. Do you see increasing support from Democrats on President Trump's efforts with regard to Iran?
I don't know, but my support's there because, especially when our military's been engaged, you have to go country over party. Yeah. I know what parts of my base demands, but I'm always going to stand, with our country, and they're going to stand with our military and the heroes as well. And how can't you celebrate that the Iranian leadership has been eliminated? Yeah. Doesn't that make the region more safe, more secure, more just, more free? Yeah. And now, of course, there's other things that it's possible right now. But right now, why can't you just acknowledge that? I put that out on my social media. Yes. Look at the kind of people that are grieving that or now protesting that. Even on Columbia University, one of the student groups just announced on Twitter saying, "Death to America." Wow. It's just like, this is what I'm saying. Look at the kind of people that grieve for that garbage. Yeah. And like that's the point. And I'm going to be on that side. For me, as a Democrat, I think Democrats country over party. Yeah. What the base demands means nothing to me. what's the right thing, and the right side of history is what happened with Epic Fury.
Yeah, I saw a video earlier with Iranians and Israelis celebrating in the streets of North London. It was just an amazing sight. Senator, thank you for your leadership on this. We so appreciate your time this morning, sir.
Thank you.
Senator John Fetterman. Coming up next, next steps in Iran. Can a post-Khomeini Iran become a free Iran? Former Crown Prince of Iran before the Khomeini regime takeover. His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi with reaction here live. Also ahead, Armed Services Committee member Rick Scott, Senator from Florida, along with the Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Brian Mast. All ahead.
Trump, one of the few presidents actually going through with it and going against Iran. Crazy.
Stay with us. Welcome back with continuing live coverage of breaking news of the U.S. and Israeli military strikes on Iran. Iranians took to the streets of Tehran and other cities across Iran in celebration, following news that longtime dictator Ali Khamenei was killed. Joining me now is His Royal Highness, the exiled former Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, live from an undisclosed location this morning. Your Highness, thank you very much for being here. Wow, we are at this day. We have been together many times in the last several years talking about this. Your reaction to Khomeini dead and this U.S.-Israeli strike against Iran?
Maria, there's no question that this is the game changer we've been waiting for all this time. The jubilation of Iranians at home and abroad shows how much people were hoping for this moment. And I join millions of Iranians thanking President Trump for taking this into action and delivering on his promise. We are so elated of the fact that now we have the beginning of the very end of the regime, because at least we are going to see more and more decimation of this regime, which can only equal the playing field so that the Iranian people could come back to the streets and claim the country back from this hated regime.
And that is exactly what President Trump has been telling and messaging to the Iranian people: take back your country. How can they do that, sir?
Well, Maria, this is time now for a very strong, stable transition. I am leading this transition. I have the support of millions of Iranian people. I have the people inside the country that are joining and broadening the coalition of forces that will be at play in filling the boxes. The military will side with us, and we have a plan of action and a transition plan. As a matter of fact, I'm glad to hear what Senator Fetterman was saying. It's music to my ears.
He's going to need like a military team to take him in there safely, because it's more than just killing one man. He killed the guy, but what about the people around him?
I always thought that this should be a bipartisan issue when it comes to America's national security interests as well as business opportunities in the future, because we as Iranians look at America as our best partner in reconstructing ourselves. You know, the president says MAGA, we say MIGA, make Iran great again. And in that sense, I think that a different Iran that now will be at peace with the region, work with our neighbors, will bring an element of stability, will be good for American national security, but most importantly, an opportunity to be successful in terms of economic growth and what have you. Just by a change that we hope to bring to the table, that will be probably over $1 trillion worth of impact and revenue to the American economy just by Iran's market being open to America, and how much we stand to benefit from billions of dollars willing to be invested into Iran. All that was needed was for this regime to no longer be there. And I think that is something that should be important to America and Iran both.
So where does this transition leave the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, where leadership there is still vowing revenge? How does this transitional government look when you have Persians, Shia, Sunni, secular government? What do you envision?
Well, Maria, obviously, I think this campaign is this time something not just to set back the Iranian nuclear program or anything like that. This is like full decapitation of the regime, and ultimately what will expedite its total collapse. The Iranian people has suffered too much to settle for anything less than that. But as soon as the transition plan is put into gear, we want to make sure that we address the issue immediately. to make sure that we have the ability to have a stable process to obviously lead to ultimately a democratic outcome, so the Iranian people get to choose their future government and system. What we need to do now is to make sure that we bring all the elements that can help that process into place. I was talking earlier today with Senator Lindsey Graham, who's a good friend of Iran. In fact, people now call him lovingly Uncle Lindsey for his position. And he talked to me earlier saying that he would try to organize a bipartisan group at Senate level for us to present that plan. Both the administration and Congress will understand better what we have in mind and we'll get more into the details. You and I had talked about the IPP project, Iran Prosperity Project, before, and the first 100 days, critically important of how we do that for the initial transition. I've been working with a number of Iranians from across the spectrum that are united in this on this purpose. We have the most diverse coalition of
I wonder if this guy is going to be brave enough to even show up to Iran and think that nobody's going to try to kill him or X him out.
People dedicated to that process, representing different parts of the country, including religious minorities, ethnic groups that are all aligned in this national project that we have. So I feel extremely confident that we get this into place and make sure that we can fill the vacuum, and that unlike other scenarios that did not pan out so well, example, post-Saddam Hussein debathification, the Iranian scenario is very different than that. It's different than Venezuela. We do have an absolutely ironclad plan in mind. Of course, what's critical is the more this regime is totally weakened and it collapses, whatever remains behind is now part of the solution and are incorporated into our transition, in the civilian bureaucracy as well as the military and security forces.
Okay, we will be watching all of that. And how long would you expect your transitional leadership to be?
Well, Maria, I think that to be realistic, from the time that we start until the day we can have the final referendum, I anticipate a period that should not be longer than a couple of years at the most. But what's critical is the first 100 days to immediately stabilize the country, the Iranian economic situation, that the apparatus of governments remain as intact as possible, so the functioning of the country continues to be in place while we bring all the components that makes us bring the country to a position where we come out of it at the very end with the choice that people will have to make, and will be proposed various plans in the Constitutional Assembly, which is the entity that will, of course, debate all these issues.
Well, that would be an incredible day to see a free election in Iran once again. Reza Pahlavi, thank you, sir. We will be watching your work. Okay, we will have more congressional reaction.
It's crazy for that man to go in there and think that the people are going to vote for him. Good luck, buddy.
With Senator Rick Scott and Congressman Brian Mast as Operation Epic Fury enters day 2. Stay with us on Sunday Morning Futures. Next. Welcome back with continuing breaking news coverage of the U.S. and Israeli military strikes on Iran. CENTCOM announcing moments ago, tragically, 3 U.S. service members have been killed in action and 5 others seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. Joining me now is Florida Senator Rick Scott, who sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee. Senator, thank you for being here. Give us your reaction.
Well, number one, my heart goes out to the families of the servicemen and women that were lost, or service members that were lost. I hope the ones that are injured have a full recovery. I mean, I had the opportunity to serve in the Navy. I know everybody knows you take the risk when you serve, but your heart goes out to them. I want to thank President Trump for having the guts to do this. This is what other presidents had not been willing to do. I know the objective is to stop their short and medium range missiles. If we didn't, our troops, our servicemen and women would have been at risk all throughout the Middle East, including our ally Israel. So what we're doing is the right thing to do. You'd like to, I'm glad that Khomeini's gone. The Ayatollah is gone. The world's a safer place. You hate to want death for somebody, but he has caused so much death and destruction. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to continue to hammer the living daylights out of them. So will Israel. Hopefully our allies in the Middle East will join in. Our allies in Europe should join in. We're making the world a safer place. But we're going to finish this. And if we don't, we'll be doing this in 5 years and 10 years. I've talked to Secretary Rubio. The Iranian negotiators were stubborn. They were arrogant. They had no interest in giving up any of their weapons. They wanted to continue to enrich nuclear weapons. They wanted to continue to build missiles. They're building about 100 missiles a month, they've got an unbelievable stockpile. So the right things were happening, and I hope to God that we're able to finish this and we end up with a country that could be an ally.
And with the massive armada that the president has engineered and put in place, it has given him the ability to continue this for weeks. How much longer do you expect this operation to go on?
I hope we can get this done in the next month. It all depends on whoever the leader is, the new leader is in Iran. If they do they care about their people ever? We know the Ayatollah didn't care about the people. He killed tens of thousands in just these protests just recently.
Right.
So hopefully somebody will show up that cares about the people of Iran and says enough's enough. We want to get back and be part of the world economy and give opportunity to all the people of Iran. That's what all of us would like.
Right. And Senator,
they've been after this for a long time. So you have to take seriously their proxies and what they could do. So you have to be very serious. But I wouldn't fight against the American military. I wouldn't want to fight against the Israeli military. We have the best men and women in the world. We've got the best equipment. We've got the best technology. We have the best information. Yes. And we will demolish them. Now, the question is going to be how many Iranians are going to die as a result of stupid actions by the leadership of Iran.
Yeah. Well, real quick, Senator, before you go, you've got a vote on Tuesday. Some of your colleagues want to clip the president's wings in the middle of this with the war resolutions vote. What are you expecting and how will you vote?
Well, I clearly am going to oppose it. And what's fascinating to me is the Democrats didn't do this under Biden or Obama. When Obama, did strikes in Syria, not one. No, the Democrats didn't come up with a resolution. Yeah. So this is all politics.
Okay. Senator, thank you. Senator Rick Scott will be watching that. And now from the Senate to the House, Iraq combat veteran and the chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Florida Congressman Brian Mast. Sir, good to see you. Thank you for your service. And thank you, Rick Scott, for your service. Your reaction, you were with me just a week or so ago and you told me you were expecting the strikes. It has happened. Assess the situation for us, sir.
My assessment is this, working from the outside in, of course, the United States of America benefits because we no longer have the head of this octopus that is the largest attacker against the United States, from our merchant mariners to our Navy to those soldiers that are just stationed in places like Jordan. Then, of course, Israel benefits because they're more directly in the backyard. And then, of course, the Iranian people benefit a great deal from everything in this opportunity to go out there and take back their country, and juxtapose that to who is hurt the most by this. You have, of course, all of those proxies of Iran that receive all of their support, their weapons, their funding from Iran. They are devastated by this, like the Houthis, like Hezbollah. And then you have China and Russia, who have the most amount of trade for Iranian oil.
Look at what they're doing. They must not care at all. Like, let it all burn in revenge for their guy getting killed. And they're just using every weapon. Like, we're about to get taken out. So might as well make it all burn or let it all burn.
Oil and gas, weapons going back and forth, they are hurt the most by this. So I think the largest thing that we face in terms of preventing an uprising, they're preventing people from rising up against the existing system, is clandestine operations from China and Russia, who want to see a continuation of the status quo there.
And what do you want to say about the impact on America? What should Americans be thinking about in the middle of all of this?
We think about, of course, number one, we did lose 3 service members to this point. These service members understood the hazards of their profession. They went out there and conducted their duty to defend the United States of America. And I could not be more proud than to thank them for their service and say that I'm proud to be their brothers in arms. Couldn't be more proud of that. And the other thing that I would say about this, besides my love for them, is to recognize who is lining up in support of the Ayatollah. And I just touched on it about China and Russia, but I think there's 2 other entities that are worth noting. You have, of course, the head of the United Nations, the Secretary General, who's lining up against America in support of the Ayatollah and the existing system. And the fourth one, while maybe not surprising, but very troubling, is most congressional Democrats, as you brought up, they're going to line up next week and say, we don't want the president to have any authority to defend the United States of America against the imminent threat of Iran.
Yeah.
So imminent that even just a year and a half ago, they killed 3 U.S. service members in Jordan and everything else that they've done since then.
Extraordinary.
You know, it's crazy that they are doing regional attacks, like attacking within their own country. Shouldn't they attack the other country that mess with them? I don't know, maybe Israel and the United States. It's crazy. They're like so upset they're taking their own people out. I mean, thank God they don't attack US, but still.
Congressman, thank you very much. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for all of your work and your leadership. Brian Mast, Chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, thank you. And we continue our breaking news coverage. Joining me right now is Fox News senior correspondent Benjamin Hall. And of course, Benjamin, we are so grateful that you are with me today. You were covering the war in Ukraine. Your vehicle was struck by Russian fire outside Kyiv. This is personal to you, obviously. Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much. And of course, the first thing that I'm thinking of at the moment are the families of those 3 American service members who have died, and the 5 who have been seriously injured. And I understand what that's like for the families back home. So my thoughts go out to them.
Well, tell us about what you expect our service members to be feeling today on the ground, not boots on the ground, of course, but in the air, at sea, in terms of taking down the Iranian regime.
Well, certainly you see how their mission has been target focused to what they've got to do. And it's interesting to see that they are starting from the top down. They are getting rid of different levels of the regime. They start with the Ayatollah, the head of the IRGC. And the fact is, I think they're going to keep moving down that chain, and they have targets in sight, and they know who they have to hit next based on intelligence from Mossad, the CIA. They know where they're going. President Trump spoke to Jackie Heinrich just recently and said, we know where our targets are. We know who we're looking for. And I think they will be hoping that the cracks appear in Iran, you know, as soon as possible. Once you get low enough down in that in the leadership, you want people to rise up. You want the people of Iran to be able to overthrow them. So I hope that'll happen soon.
Yeah, I mean, we also know that China is our #1 adversary, and China could be sharing information about where U.S. assets are to Iran, may have been over the past year. Your reaction to all of this, because intelligence was so critical in this operation. John Ratcliffe doing an incredible job as director of the CIA.
Well, we've been seeing in the last couple of days satellite imagery coming out from Chinese firms that look at some of the U.S. bases, and they are picking out every U.S. plane, every U.S. bomber. We no longer live in a world where you can secretly prepare for a war. They are watching where every asset is going, and the U.S. can use that to its advantage. You know, it was a warning sign to Iran. Our whole Navy, much of it is moving there. Our Air Force is moving there. That should have served as a warning to Iran. They didn't heed it. But yes, there is no hiding how U.S. air power is moving. The Chinese are watching. We've seen the images from their satellites.
Benjamin, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Fox News senior correspondent Benjamin Hall. Coming up, I will speak with former National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien and former Deputy National Security Advisor Virginia Coates.
You know, I start to think, how good is their technology? I don't even know what's their uniform. Like, who are we fighting? Is this just regular people with turbans in their heads versus the United States, the most lethal military on earth?
As we continue to monitor the breaking news out of the Middle East here on Sunday Morning Futures. Stay with us.
So it makes you think China got to help and got to help them out. And I don't think Iran is that technologically advanced. So how much of a fight can they put up if they don't have the weapons or technology? But it goes to show they do have some sort of weapons, because we already lost 2 soldiers. That's crazy.
Joining me now is former National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien and former Deputy National Security Advisor Victoria Coates. Thank you so much for being here to you both. Robert, let me kick this off with you. How worried should we be about Iranian retaliatory strikes?
Well, look, we saw it today with the death of our servicemen and women, and my condolences go out to those families that lost their loved ones. I can tell you, as National Security Advisor and being with the president, the toughest days we had were to go to Dover for the dignified transfer of the remains of our fallen heroes, and this is me a tough day. But they were doing the right thing. They were defending our country, and we're grateful for them. We love them. But look, the Iranians will try to retaliate. their ability and capability to do so is waning as we degrade their capacity, and so I think they'll have some dying spasms, but this job is going to get finished.
He obviously got problems communicating. He's not very clear. He's stuttering. I wonder if he's having like a panic attack right now.
And the regime is finished.
Well, Victoria, let's zoom out here and talk about how we got here. President Trump has been warning the Iranian leadership for years, give up the ambition of a nuclear bomb. He joined me many times in terms of telling the Iranians that it will end badly if they continue to support the terrorist proxies. Your reaction to this last several year campaign of President Trump?
Well, certainly President Trump has given every opportunity for the regime in Iran to come to the table and make a reasonable deal, what he calls a meaningful deal. And in this case, I mean, we spent 4 years in the first term working on the maximum pressure campaign, which Robert and I collaborated on, and that has contributed mightily to the economic straits they find themselves in now. But it was interesting, Maria, we were having the same conversation over the course of the last 4 weeks that we were having in the lead up to the 12-day war. All the critics were predicting that the president wouldn't act. He was being tricked by the Iranians. Absolutely not. He was getting everything in place that he needed to execute this extraordinary strike. And the Iranians now know they're defenseless. And that is a very, very dangerous point for us. I agree. We have to be mindful of potential attacks. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go to the families of those 3 heroic service members we lost today. But at the same time, Iran doesn't have many more cards to play.
Yeah. And this as a result of seismic changes in foreign policy directed by President Trump, whether it be Iran or Venezuela. Or Russia. We're going to talk more about that. I want to zero in on China with you both. Robert O'Brien and Victoria Coates, stay with us. We'll be right back.
You know, with all the money that the United States spent on military, how good is our military? You know, Biden made our military look bad, and it's all talk. I'm just thinking the politicians are making all that money for their pocket, and the military may not be that good. But Trump is actually putting them to work and showing the world that we are the best. Crazy. For our last segment for today.
And I am back with former National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien and former Deputy National Security Advisor Victoria Coates. Victoria, how long are you expecting this operation to continue? And what about the threat of the Strait of Hormuz? Doesn't that entangle China in this? What is your assessment of the China threat?
Oh, absolutely. And I agree with Senator Scott and Congressman Mast. This is looking like a couple of weeks, maybe a month at most. My understanding is that there are off-ramps built into it, sort of if-then scenarios. You know, if we get the Supreme Leader, then we do this. And that can, you know, that can adjust that timeline. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be an endless war by any means. And interesting, you raised the Strait of Hormuz, Maria. Of course, nobody wants that vital waterway closed. But at the same time, as we've been discussing, in a way, we're more interested in getting energy into the Gulf rather than out of it now with the new Saudi deal to import for the first time American natural gas. So we have a lot of different commercial interests in the region. I was very interested to hear what the Crown Prince was saying about economic development in Iran. That's a huge opportunity for the American people. And we're just going to shut China out of that. They can continue to buy energy from the Gulf, but they are powerless to project military might the way we have over the course of the last 36 hours into the Gulf.
And Robert, what should we be expecting from allies in the Middle East at this point?
Well, look, they're going to be happy because China has been buying Iranian oil, as Victoria points out, at a huge discount. They've been buying Venezuelan sanctioned oil at a huge discount. Part of President Trump's policy is energy dominance, and that's energy dominance at home, in the homeland, but also with our allies. And so he's going to have tremendous trade leverage and negotiation power with China and with Russia as we drill here at home, but also as we work with our allies and our new allies, Venezuela and hopefully Iran,
all right,
to bring the energy markets back into the light, so to speak, and get rid of these ghost fleets and this this discounted oil to China.
Yeah, and we are
It'll be a huge
expecting
advantage to the U.S.
And we are expecting oil prices to spike tomorrow morning when the markets open. Victoria, real quick, President Trump knew this going into the Middle East when he visited the Middle East and strengthened those relationships. I want to thank you both for being here.
I think we all hope that this does not become a forever war. All right? We're so used to just having wars in the Middle East that seem to last forever. And all the politicians do is ask for more money and spend more money and not really make use of it. And finally, here we got Trump just putting the money where his mouth is, threatening everybody and pulling through. Now, the only problem is going to be midterms. I hope we don't keep losing people in the midterms. In the war, because then people are going to vote Democrat on the midterms. And that's bad, really bad, worst case scenario for Trump. Because the only thing the Democrats are going to do, we all know they're just going to try to impeach him. So this war better turn out to be good. So like that, we don't have to worry about Trump going anywhere the last 2 years in office. It's crazy. But hey, if you stuck around for this long, make sure you hit that like button. We are going through some crazy times, crazy weekend. Trump just said, hey, the markets are closed. Let's go ahead and strike and do our thing. And because I don't even know why are we killing the guy from Iran? Why we even did that for? What was that about? It's crazy. And now it's all over the news. And we know the mainstream media, they're just going to make Trump look bad, even though Paramount is about to buy CNN. And if they buy CNN, they're going to get rid of all the news people that talk bad about Trump. So it's about to turn MAGA. Insane. Now, I wonder what Jesse Waters got to say about this, because we're living in some crazy times and everybody got their own point of view. Everybody do their own twist as to what Trump is doing and how much fear to put on us, because this is on the other side of the world. Everybody got their own little problems. We don't got time to worry about this. We leave it up to the politicians and just hope that the politicians are making the right decisions. Right? What are we doing here? Take a look at Jesse Waters' prime time and what he got to say about this. It looks crazy. It looks like the government is attacking its own people. Like they're saying, we out of here, we're getting kicked out. So let's use all the bombs, let's use all the rockets and just take out as much as we can.
President Trump says the Ayatollah is dead. Iran's top leadership killed, 40 of them. And over 900 strikes launched in less than 24 hours after U.S. Central Command commissioned Operation EPIC. National correspondent in Cyprus, Nate.
Hey, Jesse. Yeah, we're in the Eastern Mediterranean right now because the airspace over Israel is closed. We'll get in there as soon as we possibly can. But the big news here in the past 15 minutes, more explosions in Tehran. And we're also learning that not only was the supreme leader killed in this morning strike at his compound in Tehran, but according to Iranian state media, several members of his immediate family were also killed, including his daughter, son-in-law, and grandchild. Also, several top leaders in the Iranian regime were killed in that initial strike.
It's crazy that the U.S. is allowed to do this, to go to another country and just take out an entire family that didn't agree with us, that didn't follow through with whatever we asked. And then this goes to show why we work so hard with Israel. They are the firepower of who we use whenever we go to war with anybody in the Middle East. So I guess it shows that why we have a strong tie with them.
This morning in Tehran, a U.S. defense official says between 5 and 10 were killed. Israel puts that number at 40. So either way, a massive success. This was also a strike of opportunity. Israel says that they infiltrated the intelligence within Iran's security apparatus. And there's also reports that the White House got an indication that Iran was considering a preemptive strike and that President Trump didn't want them to get the first punch. So he struck them first, and he landed a massive blow to start this off. The IRGC commander also killed, as well as people who worked in Iran's nuclear program as well. But as you mentioned, it was the beginning of massive strikes throughout the day, more than 900 U.S. strikes in the first 12 hours. Israel says this was the largest air campaign in its country's history. As for Iran's response, they have hit both military and civilian targets. Just in the past hour and a half, we learned of a drone attack at Zayed International Airport in Abu Dhabi, where at least one person was killed, 7 others injured. An airport also hit in Bahrain, a hotel in Dubai. Iran hit every country that has a U.S. military base, some of them more friendly, some of them not, like Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia took fire at several U.S. bases, and Israel reports 1 death, 121 injured. But the big question is what happens next, with President Trump saying that many in the IRGC are asking for immunity at this point, and they're ready to stop fighting. We'll see if that actually happens. Both Trump and Netanyahu say
they're saying, I'm sorry, sir. Put the weapons down.
This is the opportunity for the Iranian people to take back their country. Jesse?
Nate, thank you. Jim Hansen's a former U.S. Army Special Forces and chief strategist for the Middle East Forum. Jim, how ambitious is this operation?
It's huge, to quote the man who is running it. And I think it's been tremendously successful. I don't think anyone would have counted on getting confirmation that Khamenei had returned to ambient temperature on the same day of the strikes. And what that does, there is no succession plan. He was losing power. Their regime was fading. Nobody knows who's set to be the next leader of what remains of that regime. So this has been a success beyond anything I think the Trump administration, the Israelis, or the world would have expected.
So when do they cry uncle? The president said he's willing to go as long as possible, and I guess we have to wait to see what happens on the ground.
Well, you got to wonder, if you're one of the IRGC leaders who's left, or the Ayatollahs who's left, do you want to be the guy who pokes his head up and says, I'm in charge now? You know, I think some of them are looking at the idea that, hey, I've got a bunch of money stacked in offshore accounts. Maybe it's time to buy a few extra wives and to be the next government if we can get the regime out of the way.
So we're hearing reports that we smuggled some of Musk's Starlinks into the country. We're obviously helping facilitate those communications. Do you have any indication that we have special operators inside Iran?
I would not be surprised in the slightest if in some of the border provinces, you know, the Kurds, the Azeris, and the Baluchis have major beefs and have in the past risen up in large fashion. So it would not be surprising at all for there to be helpers bringing them things that could facilitate both communications and potentially the next step, which is brush fires that require the regime to try and tamp them down. And if they try to do that, it's open season on anything they send to try and shut down those. So I think this could rapidly be moving away from them. I don't want to get ahead of myself. There could be a long slog before the end of this, but I believe the Islamic Republic has hit its expiration date.
So the retaliation strikes hit a bunch of Arab states. Doesn't sound like a very strategic response. Why would they do that? Are they going after U.S. bases?
It wasn't so much the U.S. bases. I think they were trying to drive a wedge between the Gulf states and the U.S. and get them to blame us for the fact that they're taking incoming fire. And I think that was a major miscalculation. You know, they may have actually taken the Abraham Accords, which was an agreement in theory mostly, and turned it into the Abraham Alliance of people who are all united against.
You know, it's crazy that we don't have to worry, the United States, that they're going to retaliate or try to do anything against this country, like in terms of sending any planes or any missiles in our direction. Like, they're so far away and they don't have the technology to get here. They don't even have the gasoline to pump their jets to get to this country. Man, that is so unfair.
The Islamic Republic and wishing it to meet its demise so there can be prosperity and security in the region.
It's funny how that works, doesn't it? Jim, great to talk to you as always. Big night.
Always
Patrick
a pleasure,
Bet-Davids, the founder of Valuetainment.
Like, we got the technology to get to them. And we got the ships, we got air refueling, we have everything. And then Trump is using it to destroy them because our weapons are that great. But it's not the reverse. We don't have to fear them down. We took them out, and all they got is they're killing their own people.
I know you have some personal history here. You want to tell us how you're feeling tonight?
I mean, this is a very special day today, and I'll tell you why. Because since 1979, when these guys took over, Iran's been chaotic for people that live there. 81% of the people there do not want the IRGC. I left Iran July 15th of 89. June 3rd of 89, Khomeini died. Not killed, died. I was in school at Gulbenkian. We're in the streets. I'm trying to find my parents. It was absolutely insane. Eventually, we did. 6 weeks later, we escaped, went to Germany. Fast forward from 89 till today. Now, the Supreme Leader Khamenei being taken out. This isn't like taking out the president or general of the army or even the prime minister or even the Pope. You took out the number 2 to God in their religion. You took out the supreme leader. This is a statement to everybody. Brett Baer put out a post about the fact that they took out 40 of their leaders. Think about what that conversation looks like right now to say, listen, guys, you have a couple options. You can either work with us or you're next. Does anybody want his job? Does anybody want to be the supreme leader next? Because the target's on you. What do you guys want to do? So that conversation, I believe, is taking place right now. But the world just got safer today because of all the leaders that were taken on. And God willing, if the mission is done, the world's going to be a safer place.
How do the Iranian people feel about this?
Ecstatic, to say the least. They're dancing, they're parading, they're crying, they're emotional. You see this.
They should be scared because they're blowing up all their buildings. Like, if there's people inside of those buildings, what are we going to do? They don't have weapons to go up against the military.
Celebration amongst women. Women feel free that finally this cloud that they have over them, that they can't do anything and don't put this on and don't put that on. I mean, this is a massive moment for them. They've been waiting for this for 47 years.
It's not safe yet. They're losing people. They're losing lives. Only the people outside of that country are celebrating. They're happy, but they don't have to worry about bullets flying all over the place.
And you have to realize for 47 years, we've had a lot of different presidents. We've had a lot of different Iranian leaders that have tried to make this happen. But the one thing that's very different is the president. President made this happen. The Iranian people, I wouldn't be surprised if moving forward in the Iranian community, a lot of the people that couldn't stand the president because they were liberals or, oh my God, he saw this, he saw that. Watch how many Iranians who were Democrats could overnight become Republicans saying, I support this man here.
How do you think this changes the political dynamic here in the United States? You've kind of seen some wishy-washy comments from Kamala Harris, from Gavin Newsom. Yeah, Ayatollah is a bad guy, but this is an illegal war and I don't support it. How do you think that's going to play?
I mean, they have to play their politics. I'm not surprised. We're going to get a lot more of that. And by the way, here's the part that we have to realize, you know, for viewers that are watching this, I want you to think about this. What is the heaviest decision you had to make that nobody knew about? What is the most recent heavy decision you have to make? Maybe kids, maybe marriage, maybe finances, maybe you lost a client, maybe you lost a business, and it's carrying all this burden on you, right? Think about everything that we're dealing with. So a few days after Supreme Court rules against the president, publicly everyone's talking about, you know, you got to give this money back. And then he goes to the State of the Union, calm, cool, collected, has a blast, calling them crazy, enjoying himself, celebrating with the, you know, the hockey team that just won, talks for an hour and 48 minutes. And while he's giving the speech, this is what we have to realize. He knows they're about to attack Iran, but no one knows it. I mean, this is not an easy thing to do for a leader. When a leader's carrying burden, you typically will feel something from them. You felt nothing. This is why Iran, the IRGC, was shell-shocked how it happened. It's not like they did it at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. 8:15, it's like in your face. We're going to do it when you're awake because we want you to know. We went inside. You had a mole. The same way many years ago, we've all seen the movie Donnie Brasco with Joe Pistone that went into the mob for 5 years and 10 months. And then all of a sudden, every one of the mobsters gets caught because this guy started leaking all the information. If there was a mole inside IRGC that's leaking information out, this may be the most humiliating thing that ever happened to these guys. It's a massive loss for them, massive victory for America and the world.
The guy that he killed, he just said it. It's like second to God for them. And only people outside of the country get to celebrate. It's crazy. We have to understand that they're celebrating, but the people living in the country, they got to deal with all the maniacs that are trying to retaliate and are destroying all the buildings. Look at the crazy mayhem. Look at that. There's no way they could celebrate. Or like, imagine you're just jumping around happy and boom, something blows up right next to you. Or you're seeing buildings being taken down. Insane. So the fight is not over yet for them over there. They are like just hoping that it stops, that it slows down, that they run out of bullets. You know, whoever it is doing all the killing and retaliation, let's just hope they calm it down. In the United States, yes, all the people that are living here safely, they get to be like, woo, and celebrate that this guy got taken out. And it looks like they took out the guy and his whole family. Like, we could do that? America is on another level. So, insane. In any case, if you're still watching this video, give us a thumbs up. Let's try to get the word out. And we are going through some crazy times. And let's be honest. Trump now got to worry about his next elections. And I think if this war pans out to be all good and everything calms down and we don't lose that many soldiers or any more soldiers, they just said it. I think they said 5 are injured and 2 are dead. It just looks bad. Trump can keep having that. I remember when Biden was in office and a couple of people died. They called the guy incompetent. They called the U.S. military incompetent. But now when Trump is off, the man is just quietly making it happen. He makes a threat. They don't listen. And then he just pushes in with the strongest military. I can actually say, or we all can actually say now, this is the strongest military on the planet. Don't mess with us. All right, let's watch this last piece.
Yep, hopefully this continues to go as well as the first 24 hours have. PBD, thank you so much.
I agree.
Let's bring in Britt Hume, Chief Political Analyst. Britt, put this into perspective for us. How earth-shattering is this moment?
People did not see coming, and many thought it might never come. It's obviously a huge relief for the Iranian people who have, chafed under this ghastly regime low these many years. It's a great relief for the Iranian diaspora around the world, where, in this country we saw celebrations in the streets of a number of cities. So that's where it is in terms of the immediate fallout from it, and it's gone very well so far.
So far, so good. We all know.
What do you mean it's going very well so far? Look at the buildings blowing up. Look at them using drones and different bullets and missiles and just taking people out. It only looks good for America or anybody not living in the country. But over there, got to be chaotic. Insane.
How history can play out, though. What does this do with the region? Tell me about how this affects the Middle East, but also China and Russia.
Well, this witless decision they made to attack their neighbors, I think, was a real strategic mistake, and it helps to further the possibility that the Abraham Accords could spread now between Israel and other nations, not just what it's done so far with the UAE. So I think there's a lot of possibilities there, and of course, everything ultimately, Jesse, depends on how this plays out. I think that there's the regime is likely to fall. And I guess it could, the remnants of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps could put up a fight for a while, but it's very likely the regime will fall. Then something has to be put in its place. And that is the hard part, I think, to predict. There's no obvious opposition leader because such a leader was never tolerated. And so it's not at all clear who might step into that void there, and how the government could get organized or reorganized, as the case would be. Sectarian fighting could break out. They could have a bloody civil war. So there are a lot of things that could go wrong. Now,
look at that building. That's insane. And yeah, what kind of election are they going to have now? Who's in charge? Right now, I think you know who's in charge? Whoever got the guns and the weapons. And tells everybody else to shut up and get out.
It's quite obvious to me, and I'm sure it is to you as well, Jesse, that the planning for this has been pretty meticulous, as was illustrated today. And the administration and its allies in the Middle East and Israel and the others may have something in mind here that they're ready to go with, but we don't know what that is yet. So a lot of uncertainty remains. Regime change has not had a particularly happy history in recent United States times. So there are a lot of uncertainty here that could turn out beautifully. Iran could emerge as a democratic republic, a force for peace in the world, a source of energy, a wealthy, happy country. But such outcomes have tended to be scarce in recent times.
Yeah. And however it plays out is obviously going to have certain repercussions here in the United States.
And I'm thinking whoever's going to take over got to be younger, stronger. It could be worst case scenario. People, they got to make it tougher for anybody to kill them.
States domestically, it's a midterm year. This is obviously a major foreign policy action that people are going to be talking about for quite some time. How does it shape the next few months going into November?
Well, it just shows you the unbelievable speed.
Look at that. Insane. Everybody looks like, what the hell?
Of the news cycle. The news cycle used to last a while. Just the other day, the Supreme Court struck down the president's tariffs, as your previous guest mentioned. And then after that, of course, we had the State of the Union address, and that was going to dominate everything for a while. And the excitement about that lasted about 3 days. And now we have this, which is bigger than either of those two things, really. Who knows what's going to come next? This president is consequential, to say the least. And who knows what else will happen between now and the midterm election. I mean, if I had to guess, Jesse, I would say that it's the great likelihood is that the Republicans will lose the House just because their lead there is so narrow. And the first term of a new president usually means losses for the incumbent party. But who knows? If the economy picks up, and we don't have a closing of the Straits of Hormuz and a spike in gasoline prices and all the other possible things that people worry about, the president could hold the Senate and emerge in pretty good shape after this midterm election. But a lot will depend, as we've been talking about here, Jesse, on how this situation on the ground in Iran goes. If it goes well, that will be a real feather in his cap, to be sure, marking him as an historic figure who did something important and beneficial to the world.
Yeah, I guess we'll just...
Not only that, if he shows that he brought peace to Iran, and then gas prices are going down, and then the grocery prices are going down, and more money in people's pockets, I think we got the midterms.
Have to take it one day at a time. Mr. Britt Hume, thank you so much for your analysis. Always good to see you.
You bet, Jesse.
More breaking coverage on Iran next.
All right. Man, Trump really got a lot on his plate. He definitely got a lot of things to square up before midterm comes around and more voting. Hopefully, he doesn't get taken out, because that's all they're going to try to do, impeach him. So he got to keep steady, bringing prices down. Gas prices are down. Grocery prices are down. More money in our pockets. And now this Iran situation, if he's able to calm it down and stop the killing and other crazy distractions, yeah, he got this. He got the midterm. And I think Trump is the right guy to do it. The man only got, 3 more years to go? He's going to prove to be the best president on earth. He says it a lot of times and starting to believe it. What he's doing, it is amazing. and nobody's going to give him props. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. By the way, my name is Noel. If you're still watching, give us a thumbs up. Let's try to continue the news out there, since the fake news doesn't really put the information out. I'm going to try to do my best here. I've been sitting now for an hour, trying my best to bring you guys coverage and give you guys ideas as to what I'm doing and what I'm up to. This is my new setup, and I want to try to continue to bring coverage through this news cycle. I want to see if I can do a kick stream. Let me try to figure that out. With that said, see you guys in the next video. Peace. Let me get out of here. See what's going on around the house. Hopefully no more crazy news comes up. And I don't think they're ever going to strike America, the country. We're too far. The technology is not that great. They need more satellites and more situations just to bring chaos. And as long as Iranians don't live in the country, they're going to be celebrating. But those that live in the country, man, they're blowing up buildings and they're doing everything to bring chaos to them. Let's hope for the best. And with that said, see you in the next video. Peace.